Okay, here we are for Tier 1, October 14th. I'll bring up the agenda and turn it over to you right now, Barb.
Okay, that sounds good. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm calling this Tier 1 Physical Regionalization Working Group to order. It is 1:03 on October 14th, 2025, and I'm Barbara Neal. We are recording the meeting. The recording will be posted to the task force webpage following the meeting. We'll start with our roll call. Please verbally acknowledge your presence when I call your name. Paul White.
I'm here.
Michael Wright.
I am here.
Excellent. And Rick, Dom, and Elizabeth are here from Televate. Thank you. And looks like we had a few. I know I saw Christian Pedotti. Oops. Sorry, I've just minimized my screen. Chris Pedotti, welcome. And Dan Delorier, I saw on the screen. Am I missing someone?
That's all I see.
Okay.
I believe that was it.
All right. Well, welcome to both of you. Let's see. First step, approval of the agenda. I do have an item to add to the agenda, so I'll get my thought out there and then I'll see if there's any other changes needed. I would like to add a new business agenda item at the top of today's agenda to discuss some information that came in very recently. Are there any other changes needed to the agenda? Okay.
Would that be in this location?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
All right, and I think we should.
I'll move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the agenda as amended, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye. All right, and I can't see Michael, but I bet the hand is up.
I see.
Okay. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, all right, so with that said, let's move into some new business that I became aware of yesterday. So it was brought to my attention yesterday morning that there have been potentially 2 recent open meeting law violations by our working group. The first occurred when the Tier 1 working group met last Thursday, October 9th. That meeting was not properly warned. And the other instance occurred yesterday, and this is the one that's more of a possible open meeting law violation. The other instance occurred yesterday when a corrected meeting agenda for today's meeting was posted outside the 24-hour requirement for warning this type of meeting. I'll note here that the original notice for this meeting was posted with the appropriate lead time that's required, but it had an incorrect start time listed on the agenda. The correction to the start time was issued with just under 23 hours notice. Now, both instances were clearly the result of a series of human errors that were corrected as quickly as possible. And we have not received an official notice of open meeting law violation, which is anyone can submit. But there was a question raised about the timing of the agenda yesterday in a less formal manner. And I want to take the steps required by law to address any violation if it did in fact occur. So there's a formal process that you go through to acknowledge, cure, and develop a path for moving forward when these kinds of things happen. So the first step is for us as a group to acknowledge that a series of human errors resulted in these 2 potential open meeting law violations. And for context, I'll add that our usual administrative support, Emily, was not available last week. And she discovered the situations yesterday morning and brought them to my attention, at which point we took the immediate steps to fix the problems. I take responsibility for not coordinating with the person who was filling in for Emily last week. That was Sonny from our office. And while she filled in for Emily at the regular task force meeting as the clerk, I did not ask her to complete the meeting warnings that were needed. It just completely slipped my mind. And that should have been done. So step one is I'm going to ask if we're in agreement that last week's meeting was not properly warned, and there are questions about the timing of the warning for today's meeting. Do we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. Michael, do you have questions?
Just say that one again, please.
Do we agree that last week's meeting was not properly warned and that there are questions about the timing of the warning for today's meeting?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So if we've acknowledged that, we can move on to curing these potential violations.
Well, and
So-
just for clarification, the issue with today's meeting was that it was warned for 2 o'clock when the meeting was actually supposed to occur at 1 o'clock, which is, again, just a simple human error. But by the time we realized that and corrected the warning, it was now less than 24 hours prior to the meeting.
Correct. It was right. It was just under 23 hours. And the original notice, the one with the incorrect time, was posted, with a proper lead time. So it was a correction to a properly warned meeting in my view, but.
Right.
So that's, yes. So, that's the situation as it was. Whether or not it's actually an open meeting law violation, I think is a different question.
Right.
But I want to make sure we
Right.
do the work to resolve it.
Right. So at this point, you're just asking, is there agreement to the notion that there was perhaps a lack of proper warning for the last week's meeting and this week's meeting? And my answer would be yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay, great.
Okay. So to cure the violation from last week, I would suggest that we look at the minutes, or I'll point to the minutes from that October 9th meeting that clearly indicate we made progress on our work. There were no final decisions about a complete set of recommendations, but we did work on the working group objectives. That progress will be reviewed today as we go through our normal working group meeting. And members of the public will have an additional opportunity for input on that conversation and this conversation at this meeting. And I'm going to propose that we have, or recommend that we have, at least one additional meeting before we present the recommendations to the full task force. So, and I'll actually, let's see, where do I want to make this recommendation? I'm going to have two motions, I think, to this. So anyway, there was also a vote during that meeting that we need to retake with a correction. So the minutes from the 3 previous working group meetings were approved at last week's meeting, but we recorded an incorrect date of September 24th for one set of minutes. September 24th was actually a regular task force meeting, and we noted the wrong date. So let's start with that issue. So to fix that issue, I will make a motion now that the working group approve the minutes from the September 9th, September 18th, and October 2nd Tier 1 working group meetings. Those are the correct dates. I've checked and double checked.
I will second the motion, and I have also double checked. Those are the correct dates.
Okay, good. Any discussion? Okay. So all in favor of approving the minutes from September 9, September 18th, and October 2nd, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those 3 meeting minutes are approved. So with that should address the problem with the unwarned meeting on October 9th. Okay, and sorry, I was getting a little tangled up on where I wanted to go next, but that should solve the problem for the unwarned meeting on October 9th. Now, regarding yesterday's warning errors or potential warning errors, I'll give you a little bit more detail on this. That in addition to the fact that the initial notice was more than 24 hours before the meeting was scheduled, and the correction moving the time of the meeting by 1 hour was made as soon as the mistake was realized, and still just shy of 23 hours before the meeting. We also notified all the regular attendees at these meetings, our task force and working group meetings, of both the initial announcement and then the corrected time. Emily did that by email. So we were hoping to ensure that at least our regular attendees had the correct information. And then to ensure that all members of the public have an opportunity for input, I'm going to make a motion now that we distribute the information we discussed today, including any updated slide decks, to all of our regular attendees, and that we schedule and properly notice another meeting of this working group between now and the regular task force meeting at which we want to present our recommendations, which could be next week, but might be later out. But we should have one more meeting before we go to the full task force. This will give everyone an opportunity to review what we've discussed and provide any additional input that they would like. So my motion is to distribute the information we discussed today, including any updated slide decks, to all of our regular attendees, and then schedule and properly notice another meeting of this working group.
I'll second that.
Oh, okay. Any discussion, further discussion? All right. So let's take a vote on that motion to distribute the information we discussed today and include any updated slide decks and schedule and properly notice another meeting of the working group. All in favor? I see all hands are up. Great. So that is what we will do. And then the third component of addressing, if you will, potential open meeting law violations is to talk about specific measures we're going to take to prevent a recurrence. So I took the initiative and developed a checklist, which I will use at the end of this meeting, to ensure that all requirements are met for scheduling of future meetings. And this checklist would be used by the co-chair or the vice chair if he's leading a meeting, or in another working group, whoever is leading the meeting should use the checklist. But it will identify the date of the meeting, the type of meeting, whether regular or special, the notice required, and a note about who will be warning the meeting. So we'll see that placed into action today if we're in agreement that this is an appropriate measure to hopefully prevent a recurrence of these errors. Any comments on that?
Although it was this specific working group that may have had an open meeting law violation, you're going to distribute that checklist to all the working groups. Is that right?
Well, do you think that's appropriate? We ought to do that, or?
Well, to whoever might be leading those other working groups, which generally is going to be either you, Dan, me, or I guess there are a couple of occasions where somebody else is. But
yeah, okay. And maybe what we'll do.
maybe that's a subject. Maybe that's a subject we should bring up at the next task force meeting.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that should be put on the agenda for the task force, and I would agree it should be a standard across all the working groups.
Okay. Yes, and the task force should be informed of this whole situation, right. Okay.
Not that we want to make you go through all of that explanation again.
Yeah, no, but we won't. I don't think it will be required that we go through like all of the votes or anything. Right. We can just report out what we went through. Okay. All right. So with all of that taken care of, we can actually now proceed to our regular agenda unless there's anything else on this topic. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from last week's meeting, October 9th. The Those minutes were distributed to task force members yesterday, and they are available on the webpage. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll move we approve the minutes of the October 9th working group meeting.
Okay,
Second.
thank you, Michael. The only discussion that I have on this is, those minutes reflect those incorrect dates that we approved the minutes for, but I think that should stand, right? I mean, that's the action
Yes.
we took.
Yep, the
And-
minutes, right, even though the dates were incorrect, the minutes reflect what was actually said, so.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, great. Any other discussion on this? All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from the October 9th working group, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye. All right. Those minutes are approved. And Rick and Dom, I'm going to make sure that checklist gets in your hands too, in case we have,
Yes.
especially if we have working groups that that maybe Paul and I aren't present for. And of course, I haven't talked to Dan about all the way through all of this either. So we'll do that. And I'll hand
Appreciate
it
that.
back over to you guys. And thanks for your patience in letting us work through that issue.
All right. Thank
Before
you.
we go, I just wanted to express apologies on our end if we are responsible for any of these issues. So I'm, we're pretty prompt in doing what we're doing, but if these delays are on our fault, my apologies.
No, they absolutely are not, Rick. It was fully in my court because I knew that Sonny was supposed to be filling in for Emily the entire week, and it just got lost in the shuffle of the work to not bring her into these particular posting of the notices. So all on me, and not to worry. I think we didn't get the word to you either that Emily was out last week, which compounded the problem. So.
Thank you for that explanation.
No worries. Okay. Onward, Dom.
Okay, ready to proceed. Again, as we mentioned, this is the Tier 1 Physical Regionalization Working Group. I have taken the liberty of updating the working group schedule. We are looking to schedule another meeting of the organic and inorganic group soon, as well as trying to schedule the funding and cost sharing group, working to do those. And as you mentioned, Barb, this group, the Tier 1, right now our schedule shows us ending the next week, which would be with a presentation to the task force. I guess following our meeting today, we will determine if we feel we're ready for that.
Yes, and in any event, even if we are ready for it, we'll have to schedule this extra meeting. It could be a very short one, but just to give folks an opportunity for input. Yeah.
Well, we may likely need that anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, the three members we know here are shown for this group, and the goal is to develop preliminary recommendations and understand the priorities in support of physical regionalization. We have a number of action items that we are working, and since this is small, let me go into presentation mode here. And can everyone see that full screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Looks like 1, 2, and 3 have been closed. Number 4 is for Tollevate to look at fee formulas across various agencies. We have identified one we're familiar with, Capital Fire, which uses the grand list to determine their fees. I have not heard of any additional ones that we have information on at this point, so that'll have to remain open.
If I could add to that, we are seeking input from the community through the survey from the League of Cities and Towns, and that survey, I'm not sure the status of it. I'll check in today. They have it. They're working on it, and it will be released as soon as they release it. I'll check in today to see what I can find. But that survey will also give us some additional input.
Okay, yes, absolutely. Thanks.
Welcome.
And action item number 5 was regarding that survey to provide updates. Um, can we mark that as complete then, or hopefully will be complete at the end of this meeting?
Well, the survey has been released. It's, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd say that's complete. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Action item number 6, and help me out with these few since I wasn't at the meeting last week. But Rick, you were to call Josh. Is Josh with the League of Cities and Towns?
Yes, I met with
Okay.
Josh. I actually met with him and I provided him the survey. He and I exchanged a couple of emails. And so I will follow up with him today to find status. But yes, that one's complete. That one is complete as well.
All right, great.
He was checking to determine, what specific distribution list they have. We really don't need the survey to go to every member. I was hoping that they may have members designated by different disciplines, and so I've had a conversation with him about that, and he said they were looking into it, and I just don't have his input, but I'll follow up today and make sure that we have that input.
Okay, thank you. Action item 7, was this part of the survey or was this a different survey to, no, I assume this would be a different survey. It would go to the regional communication centers regarding whether or not they are interested in combining with another center. Uh, is
That's
this
correct.
this do we have a draft of that survey yet or no?
No, but we can get that. I'll work with you today. We could create it
Okay, great.
and provide it back to everyone via email to get their input.
Okay, thanks. 8 is regarding mapping, and I would like to review that. I have some preliminary information on that. So in a second, I'd like to switch applications and review that to make sure I have that. I'm meeting the needs of that action item. Um, so if you can bear with me, I'm going to do that. Switch. Stop sharing here and give me one more minute, please, to share a different screen. And I'm not finding the right window. I'm working on it. Okay. All right. Hopefully you can see a map there now. I'm sharing
Yes.
ArcGIS map. So I think based on that action item, and I worked on this today, so I have individual layers here, and please let me know if this captures the requirement. So first, we're showing the 6 PSAPs here, mapped, the current PSAPs.
And just to
We
clarify, your bold outlines are counties by the looks.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I have the of course we can put the labels on, but then that
Yeah.
it
Right.
gets a
No, that's
little
fine.
bit it gets a little bit cumbersome when I start adding the other stuff. But yes,
Right.
those are the counties. We added in the 6 out-of-state dispatch centers. Happen to use red diamonds here for those.
Yep.
So those are added in. Then if everyone remembers the numbers, we have 37 dispatch centers, 6 that are PSAPs, 6 that are out of state, and then 25 in-state dispatch centers. So when we add those in, uh, that's what those look like. So all of those circles with the pink uh, icons, those are the additional dispatch centers, 25. And beyond that, I've tried to identify there are 4 non 24/7 dispatch centers that are identified in the report by MCP. So those are these four here that we see. I think there were Dover,
Wilmington,
what's that?
Wilmington. It's like,
Yeah, Dover, Wilmington, Randolph, and Middlebury PD. Those four are in yellow, and then the next layer shows, and I want to make sure I have the definition here of the self-dispatch only centers. So I believe the goal was to identify those dispatch centers that only dispatch for agencies within their town.
That's correct.
correct.
Okay, such
Right, that's
as,
right. Such as, well, Springfield was the example that we were using because Dan had been with us
Okay.
and is with us again today. But that's what we were referring to last meeting as standalone.
okay, all right. So Springfield, yeah, Springfield is one of them. So that's the green icons now just overlaid, and some of those overlaid also the non 24/7 dispatch. So when I went through the inventory report, I came up with 13 of these. If everyone can read those. So Brattleboro, Burlington City PD, Colchester, Dover PD, which is also a non 24/7, Randolph, Mad River, Ambulance, Rutland City, South Burlington, Springfield, St. Michael's Rescue, University of Vermont, Wilmington, and Winooski. Those are the 13 I came up with. So if that's what we were looking for with that action item, I can put these copies of these maps, attach them to the material for the meeting, and distribute those as we mentioned earlier.
So something popped into my head as you were going through the self-dispatch only centers. So we're going to put out a survey that's asking if any centers would consider merging with another center. Is a related question whether there are any centers that would agree to host another center, or is that the same question? I thought of it because I thought Rutland City had an interest in expanding.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same question.
Okay. Is it worth asking?
Yes, I would think so.
I'd say, I mean, there's no question. No question's a bad question.
Well, do we want
Thank
to?
you, Paul.
I mean, what it yields for information may or may not be helpful, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Right.
So for these, for the survey, then would so the initial question, it sounded like, was to be geared or directed only to these self-dispatch only centers, which I found 13, or was it to be geared directed to all Vermont dispatch centers?
I think all is my gut reaction.
Okay, and then the second question would be applicable to all of them as well. Correct?
I don't know if it doesn't hurt, but I don't know if it's helpful to send it to the dispatch centers that are already serving as a regional center, such as Hartford, Shelburne.
Right.
Because clearly they have already demonstrated that they're willing to take in others, and they're most likely not looking to fall under somebody else. I mean, I'm not opposed to sending it to everybody, but my understanding was that we were going to send it to everybody except what I'll call the big six, the ones that happen to serve as PSCTFs.
Right. Though I do remember having conversations with Hartford PSCTF in the past about them wanting to expand. I mean, are we just kind of making an assumption then that those centers, or maybe they've answered this on the survey, because there was a question on the MCP data collection about
Yes,
capacity to expand.
yes,
There was, yep.
there was.
Yes, there was.
Yeah, they might have
You know
already
what?
answered.
I don't see any point in sending the survey to the two state police dispatch centers, but there's no harm in sending it to everybody else.
Okay, maybe we
not,
should.
maybe not the out of state.
Hmm,
We're not going to ask them if they would consider consolidating under somebody else.
right.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
But yeah,
then
so we're
we
going
would
to
look,
ask them. I would ask them. Have you ever considered consolidating with someone else? What has prevented you from doing so? What would encourage you to do so? And then the flip question is, would you consider having someone else consolidate under you?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
if I heard that correctly, then we would be sending it to all 25 Vermont dispatch only centers, as well as the PSAPs, with the exception of Williston and Westminster.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay, so that would be 25 plus 4, so that would be a total of 29,
yes.
as I get it.
Right. Basically, everybody except Williston and Westminster.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Everyone in state. Yep. Okay, so those are the maps I mentioned. I can include them. I can include the various different layers in the PowerPoint information that we have, and I can send that out following the meeting.
Now, we had also talked, if I remember right, we had also, when it comes to mapping, we had also talked about trying to show the catchment areas, for lack of a better term, for these dispatch centers, and that could be a very messy map.
Mm,
Okay, so what exactly are we talking about there? Are we talking about the uh,
Well, Dom,
PSAPs?
I'm sure we have this map. We have it broken down by fire, police, and
towns by
emergency medical.
PSAP? Are we talking
Yeah.
about the PSAPs?
No, the
Okay.
non-PSAP. Well, I guess it would include the PSAPs, but
Yeah,
not
we'll
just the
include them.
PSAPs. Like, for example, what towns does St. Johnsbury PD dispatch for? What towns does Woodstock
Okay.
dispatch
That
for?
was
For
in,
example,
yeah,
we
that's in
have this.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Okay, that's EMS dispatch.
okay,
For example, yes, we do have
okay.
that. That's what EMS looks like. This is what law enforcement looks like.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
and I think that's where, if you have all those layers on, it can get messy, because
That
you
will
may,
that will be
yeah,
very messy
yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
because
yeah.
in many towns you have one dispatch center for fire, one dispatch center for EMS, and one
right.
dispatch center for police.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
These they would overlap, and it would look ugly.
It would
So
all be brown.
Gives me
The
a
good
headache.
news is, though, is that we have this broken down via spreadsheet, because we can't create
Yeah.
the map without the spreadsheet. So we
Right.
do have a list of these as well.
Right. And
Based on the
I do
three
have
different
individual. I do have individual images of each of these,
Okay.
Mhm.
which okay, I can provide that as well when I add those other maps to the presentation material.
Yeah, that's good.
This is really good visual.
Yeah,
Yes.
And I want to note, we should really highlight the bat phones is still in Vermont. I cannot believe that.
yeah,
That is unbelievable to me.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else on this? I'll switch back to the PowerPoint. Try not to exit here. I always screw up when I stop sharing. It's a red button, and then when I go to share something else, I sometimes go to the next red button, which ends up having me exit.
Yes, I have done that.
To make sure I catch the right file here. I think this is it. Yeah, okay. So those are the action items. Well, the last item was Televate to investigate existing national training certifications. I don't know if we have any update on that. I know I have not put that together yet.
So I was working with Elizabeth, and Elizabeth, I had asked Elizabeth to begin the effort. I don't know.
Right.
Elizabeth would be a better one to answer that from our end.
I did look this up and gather some information. How would you like me to assemble it to share? Yes, there are classes available from both APCO and NINA. Is the group interested in seeing what those look like? I can share links. What's the best way to share what we found?
Yeah, maybe a slide or two with that information with the links embedded. I know ABCO does have more than training, they have certification as well, because I know some of the dispatch centers have require their personnel to be ABCO certified, but not all of them currently.
Right. A note on this. So we use the APCO EMD program, and but APCO doesn't teach it to our students. Our training staff is instructor qualified, so they can deliver the APCO EMD program to Vermont call takers. It's less expensive that way. I think it's close to, I think it's $495 for a student to go through the APCO or NINA. Actually, Elizabeth, you probably have that information in your links. So anyway, so I think it would be a reduced cost if we had in-state certified APCO instructors, or whatever organization. If you wanted to do it more quickly, you could pay to have students, take the course online through APCO, or even have an APCO instructor come through here. But I think the cost savings might be pretty significant. We should check on that too.
Forgive me, I don't remember how the conversation went last week, but is that really even a subject matter for this working group? I mean, or should that be under governance, or either governance or tier 2, or?
I think you might be right, Paul. I don't think it is our group.
I don't remember how we got onto that subject last week.
Wouldn't it be under governance, because governance is going to be supposed to be developing training and certification standards, right? Would fall under that more.
All right, we have said in let's see, what is it, tier 3, that 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 working group recommended having all dispatchers certified.
And that working group is the policy and operations regionalization?
Yes.
Yes, tier 3.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this also crosses over to funding too, because, if this is an ongoing funding requirement that the state may contribute to, that I think, identifying this as a cost item makes sense as well for the funding group.
Yep. Sounds like it's everybody's problem.
Right. Or everybody's opportunity.
Yes,
like better way to put it. But I think you're right, Paul. I don't think it really belongs in the physical regionalization piece. Unless you're speaking to having everyone have a common certification so that they could work in any center. type of thing. You know, like that hybrid staffing we talked about.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think as a task force, isn't everyone having a common certification is something that we're going to recommend regardless of whether we do physical consolidation or not. So I think that we
Yep.
have enough work on our plate for this working group without
Right.
taking on
Yeah,
things that are
I believe tier 3 has already recommended that.
right.
Right. All right. I say we can clear this action item then.
Okay.
I think
Will
we'll
do.
remove it. However, I do want us to go ahead and document it. So as
Yep.
Elizabeth has put together, we'll still document it.
Okay. All right. The next few slides are things that we've reviewed before. These were the key findings regarding physical facilities from the report from MCP. We identified what the regionalization benchmarks were that were used by MCP. We did discuss the 5 options at some length, but I believe we have spent the majority of the recent time focusing on and I guess what we're calling an alternative approach for an approach towards regionalization. And this is an update, I guess, from last meeting.
Yeah, I made some corrections to that in the presentation that went over for the E911 board just recently, but I didn't come back and correct them here. So as I mentioned on the way out, I would try to follow the bouncing ball to make sure I knew what I was, what we needed to do here. So I did do it, but I didn't come back to here and do it. So
Do you want me to open up that other presentation? I can do that.
wouldn't hurt on this one page. I think yes, please.
Okay, let me work on that. Bear with me for a minute, please. Okay, I have this open and I'll share. Just a minute.
Dom, it's not going to be there because I realized at the last minute that didn't. It's a long story, but I had made an edit to that slide and then realized that didn't belong in here. So let me go find it. But
Okay.
it's not going to be in here. It's my bad. I know I corrected the slide, but then after I corrected it, I said, "Oh, that doesn't go. We're not presenting this information to the E911 board, so
Okay.
it's not going to be there."
Well, while we're here, I'm just looking through the tier 3, and we did the tier 3 did say create an approved training program for all new hires and establish statewide certifications program. So that is part of the recommendation for training. Okay, and
All right, so
with
go
that,
back
I'll
to the
stop
previous
sharing.
slide, and I'll clarify it. Honest, I did correct that slide. I'm mistaken. I have it in another deck somewhere.
Okay.
I'm not taking us down a rabbit hole, but I did want to mention that for those of you that attended the board meeting, you might have heard Stephen Whitaker's public comments that using Rapid SOS as the 911 mapping solution is a step back, and because Vermont has the best, if you will, or the most complete set of GIS data. So Rapid SOS is the platform that we are using, and it is consuming the Vermont 911 GIS data, just to clarify.
Great.
All right, so on this one here, can I talk to this one there, Dom?
Yes, please do.
All right, so we agreed that there was going to be some change in the language here. So what is crossed out there continually? We agreed on so if you want to use your cursor, right, put it at periodically introduce. So, put
Right?
your cursor right at the P. And then you could delete everything before that.
Oh, okay. So delete what's crossed out.
Yes, but you can also get rid of that for yeah, exactly. Yep. So and then by the governance body. So come down to the next sentence right there at the beginning, the governing body. Get rid of that parentheses there. Give yourself a space. So over time, periodically introduce benchmarks at a rate determined by the governing body to be met to continue to receive accreditation. And funding was highlighted because we did discuss funding, and then we have some options there. And on the next line item, potentially permit self-funded. I think we agreed on, you can get rid of, yep, starting there, get rid of self-funded. I think we could, on this one here, if I'm not mistaken, Paul, did we say independent / standalone?
Yeah, I think we were just sort of spitballing different terms that we could use.
Yep,
Okay.
To
Remove the
refer-
local agency
yep,
part.
yes, yes. And that
Okay.
close parentheses, space, and then go
You want
or
to make
and
it
put, yeah, a slash or whatever. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we agreed on the next one. We needed to develop a definition of what that meant, of the two, what a standalone center is. And we still need to develop that. And then
So
under other,
is that something we are trying to do here in the meeting today, or should we
no,
put
I think we,
together a proposed definition and send that out to the group prior to
yeah,
the
I think you should do,
next meeting?
I think we should do the latter.
Okay, we'll do that.
And it doesn't need to be very complicated, just.
Yep.
Yeah, a bullet is good. So under other considerations, those were items I had brought up for discussion, and we did agree that we're going to do a survey. So that was a survey we talked about, and also the mapping that you just showed. So we need to develop the survey as we just discussed, so those items. I mean, you could put a line through them because they don't need to be on this, but we agreed we were going to do them as action items.
Right. Okay. So all of this gets
Yeah.
deleted here. All right. As well as this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna distribute that.
Yeah. So that whole section there, other considerations.
Well, I did see highlight how many standalone RCC. So for my analysis, I believe there are 13. And the non 24/7, there are 4. And there's some overlap between these, the 13 and the 4, by the way.
So the objective here was to be sure that when we make our presentation for this working group to the task force, that we had that additional information.
Okay.
I don't think the survey will be finished in time, but the mapping, we had already developed a lot of that, so I think we can do that. But that would support the presentation to the task force.
Right. I'll ask what our thoughts are for presentation to the task force. What format do we want to prepare? Is it going to be a collection of bullets like we see here, with the including the definitions that we'll develop, and identify this general approach. And then we'll need further definition of what the benchmarks are. And this is that the plan for presenting to the task force?
I think that would work fine.
We can include the maps as well, I suppose, to give some, greater visual impact.
Right, and there aren't any elements from the MCP options that we carried into this, or maybe that doesn't matter. It's enough different. There's enough
I
difference
believe it
between.
is, yeah.
Okay, I think bulleted would work if we wanted to keep the format, consistent with how MCP did it. We could put it in that kind of format, but it's essentially the same. I mean, it would be the same information.
Do we need to review this further and update it? Or is that something Televate can draft and send out for review, and then maybe go through that at our next meeting?
I think that makes sense.
The latter?
The latter, yeah, sorry.
Okay,
Paul
that's all right.
or Michael, you?
Yeah, I would agree. Clean it up and have it ready for the next.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I guess just to recap, for Dom, since he wasn't here, and also since we're trying to sort of recover ground that we covered last meeting because of the open meeting law issue. When it comes to staffing levels, we had talked about staffing levels not necessarily reflecting a number, like 2 or 3 bodies.
Right.
Staffing levels would be defined by, is their staff adequate to make them meet the benchmarks that we set out?
Yeah.
If they can meet all the benchmarks with only 1 person on duty, then maybe their staffing level is adequate. We don't have to require 2. But...
Right. So we identified call answer time, and I think it'd be time to dispatch, right, as 2 of the
Right.
benchmarks.
And I'm wondering if we should do some research of other, maybe Rick or Dom can dive into other dispatch centers to see, I did a little bit of research to try to find some national standards, I guess, for benchmarks. There isn't a ton. There's the NFPA standard 1720, I think it is, that does require the call answering and dispatch time as a standard, which again, I don't think we're meeting now. So that's a first step, but I'm wondering if there should be a few. It just seems like that's a start for sure, but it's only a real small piece. I'm wondering if there's others that we should consider now as we're rolling this out, maybe a couple more, and what those couple more should be. Or again, are there other big centers that do have these benchmarks, and what are they? Maybe get a little bit more research on that.
We could take that on. There are certainly benchmarks out there, best practice benchmarks.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
That would be
NFP.
great.
Oh, sorry, Michael. That NFPA standard has been a tricky one since the 911 system came into being, because at one point it required like 15 seconds. I don't know if it still does, between call answer and initial dispatch. And when a call would go into 911, I mean, you can't even get the person's name and location in 15 seconds. And then you have to typically transfer. So I don't know if that standard has changed over the years, but I think it'd be important to make a distinction of that standard applies when the dispatching agency answers the call, right? So, which might be different than when 911 answers the call.
Right.
Anyway, just
right.
Pointing out my struggles with that NFPA standard.
Yeah, and there was different from what I researched. I was trying to pull it up real quick, but there was a couple different variations of that, like 15 seconds and 90%, or there's a couple different variations that I found. So I think we just
Right.
need to maybe, again, let's see what maybe Rick and Dom find as national benchmarks at other centers and what, we can come to a halfway medium there.
Right.
Okay.
We actually,
Michael, I agree with you, what you're requesting. And we've also, we've already implemented the concept of best practices customized to Vermont specific unique requirements. And so,
Right.
that we should, why not take advantage of published best practices? Because they've been studied and assessed by multiple centers throughout the country and by the key associations. However, they don't always apply. So we should identify the key ones, and they do exist. I've read them and or read through them, and so we can certainly put them up there for your consideration.
Agree.
May I ask one other question here on resources to be provided under the sub bullet under training opportunities? So, Barb, I put this note in there: state funded dispatch academy, and in parentheses, pay for lodging if traveling beyond 50 miles. And then I went and searched if that's a state policy, and I couldn't determine whether or not that is a state policy. And the reason I'm asking this is because we want to put together an accurate budget, potential budget, if depending on who pays that fee, whether or not that could come out of a state provided bucket or it has to be covered locally. And I'm just wondering if traveling beyond 50 miles from your home to a facility would require an option to provide local lodging and a per diem. Is that
so it's a 911 board policy
right?
that I'll find for you, and it's not 50 miles from the home. It's 50 miles from their workstation. So, an
Okay.
employee of Williston might live in Swanton, but the measuring starts at the Williston PSAP to wherever the training is being held.
All right. And the reason I'm asking is I wanted to estimate, an estimate of how many days that might occur and following the per diem rules. But because, we can propose, these various items, but unless understanding what they may cost. And so I do a percentage on an annual basis, a percentage of the number of dispatchers, and go from there. But that would be a draft. And obviously that doesn't come under here, but that would, that would have to be assessed by the funding group based
Yeah.
on what we, what are we offering? I think this conversation comes back to on the previous slide, we talked about funding. And so what is the carrot? What is the stick? And so the carrot would be potentially offering some funding, like we have in the next bullet: CAD, rapid SOS licensing, and if training also would be potentially another one. We had the conversation last week, where Michael, said, yes, somebody can pay for it, but his department would have to pay for the labor. And
Right.
so we wouldn't be offering to pay the labor. We did talk also about a potential of there being a roving group of dispatchers who might be able to come in and cover in the event that a particular center can't get someone off to training because they have no one to backfill that person. And we don't want that to ever be a barrier to getting trained. But, would we also have a potential team that could fill in? I don't know what your thoughts are there. And the reason I'm asking is because these are considerations under regionalization, under our proposal for the alternative approach where you got to follow, you can operate independently and you choose organically to merge, but in order to provide you with incentives to train and to certify, we would offer them some funding options, potentially, like paying for travel or providing them those licenses at no additional cost to their centers.
Right. So what's the question on this? Do we want to include that, or do we want to expand on it? Is that what we're?
The question is I just try and understand what the policy would be for paying for lodging and meals in the event that they travel beyond a certain distance. And I used 15 miles and a question mark there based on what you said. No,
Yeah.
I knew that was E911 policy, but I looked for a state policy and I couldn't find one.
No, I mean, outside of 901, I don't think that there is one.
Right.
I mean, I think there's I mean, this policy is still in place at the 911 board if we happen to hold a training, a multi-day training. That's the other
Mhm.
factor. It's
Right.
not
Right.
we'll pay for your hotel the night before a one-day class. These
Right.
are multi-days. And if it were me and I was trying to train potentially hundreds of dispatchers in some, let's say, shortened timeline, I mean, over a shortened period of time to get everybody certified, I would move the instructors. I would move the instructors to
Sure.
different geographic areas of the state
Uh-huh.
to make it more convenient for the students. It might still require some that are beyond the 50 miles for scheduling or other reasons, but that would
Right.
minimize that some. But that would be like the initial training push, right? And we haven't even
Right.
defined how long a time frame that could potentially take.
Right.
This might come into play more often with the onesie twosies that come through training once the baseline's been established. Because then you wouldn't be having quite as many training opportunities all over Creation or all over Vermont. So
the fire and the police academies, I think, are in Pittsford.
Yes.
They
And
are.
so, and that's kind of central in a way. It's a little bit skewed to the south, but I mean, it's beyond 50 miles. So,
It's been our experience lately, anyway, that it's difficult to hold classes there for 911. Might be different totally, or maybe some new arrangements could be entered into. We used to always do it there. And then at least what I was told, I didn't ever check this out for myself. They seem to want to shy away from the communications piece and focus more exclusively on the sworn side and or the fire side. Whether or not that's still the case, I don't know. But I don't know, maybe it's just because where I live in the state, I just find those academies really difficult to get to.
You're right, Barb. It's not a particularly friendly place to try to schedule a training.
Right.
However, if there was some kind of statutory change mandating that they provide this training, then they're going to have to.
Right. Yeah.
On the second piece, you're right. It's not, even though it looks on the map like it's somewhat central, because you can't travel east-west in Vermont very easily. Pittsford's not an easy place to get to.
Right. They do have outstanding training facilities, though, especially the fire academies where I last was.
Yeah, the fire academy is very nice. Police academy, so much, but
yeah. So
Montpelier is also pretty central.
I mean, you could break it down. I mean, I like Barb's idea too, and I think you could break it down north, south, east, west, right? You could have a regional training in the north that covers the north, south, east, west. That would be 4, and then you could break it up to, 2 in each of those areas, a morning and an evening session to rotate essentially everybody through. I think the concept of that, Rick's, where our initial idea of having that team of dispatchers to go around would only work if every center operated the exact same way, which is not. So having a dispatcher come over from Chittenden County to dispatch in St. Jay would be completely lost. To know the system and how things work and how to put out a second alarm for St. Johnsbury Fire Department, like that's not something somebody could just come and do. So I think you would have to, but I think it would not be a heavy lift to take, our center has, I don't know, 6 dispatchers or so. 3 of them do, one training and then they get the morning one or the afternoon. But worst case, 3 of them do the north training, and then the other 3 might have to travel to the south training, or, you know, the Chittenden County training or something. I think that's not a heavy lift.
Right, agreed. I think to say, when we say we're going to create a dispatch academy, that doesn't mean it needs to be a bricks and mortar building somewhere. It's,
Right.
it's a mobile academy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really think that would be more effective and less intrusive to sending people to a single site.
Right.
And I think each center would have, I mean, obviously, they probably want everything provided for free, right? But I think if the training was provided for free, they're really only having to maybe pay their wage for the day and, you know, their mileage if they're not using a company vehicle to get there or something. I think that would be within everybody's current budget. And I think if we had it locally where the training was free, that would not be, I would think that would be awesome, but many might want to push for having more ability to pay for the person to go, but I think that's would be within everybody's budget.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think my experience is that paying for the student is not that difficult. It's paying for the body to backfill for that student so that their shift is covered is where we always used to run into the headaches, because that usually means paying somebody overtime to come in and backfill for the person who's gone to training.
All right, anything else to update on this slide? I believe what I'm hearing to prepare for our next meeting is to, well, send out these slides. I'll add in the mapping that we showed of the dispatch center information. I'll add that in, distribute that. And to prepare for the next meeting, Televate will update these couple of slides here, this one and this one, to prepare and recommend which slides we would use and format to present to the task force.
Yeah. And my apologies. I did update these slides and I was looking for them. And then I'm like, if I keep looking, I'm not going to be able to engage in the meeting. So my apologies. I really, I had a brain lapse on this one.
We'll get it straightened out.
Yep. No, that all sounds good.
Are we ready to go back to our agenda, or do we have other work for today?
I think we're ready to go back to the agenda.
Okay, here we go.
So, next steps are what you just stated, Dom, for you or Televate to update these slides and redistribute, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then I will make sure that I talk with Emily and ask her to distribute these slides to the regulars for our meetings, so they have it, potentially with the notice of the next meeting that we're going to schedule. Okay. Okay, so next meeting of this group, are we feeling like we're going to be ready for next week's presentation to the full task force or not? And on that note, Paul and Dan and I are going to meet tomorrow. And one of the things I want to talk about is, do we need weekly task force meetings for a bit?
Because of the time crunch we have between now and December.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of ideas on that, but well, for right now, let's schedule the next meeting of this working group.
So we would have to be able to meet either Monday or Tuesday next week, right? To be prepared for Thursday.
Oh, and I'm traveling. How convenient is that?
Yeah,
And
I don't know if I could meet either Monday or Tuesday next week.
okay.
2 days.
Is Friday this week a possibility?
Can we warn it in time? Yeah, I think we could.
Rick, that's
This-
not good for you this week?
Oh, what day? What time?
This Friday? This Friday is okay with me.
Yeah, I can make that work.
Can we be prepared for Friday? I think so.
Friday morning? What time are you looking at?
I haven't heard a suggestion yet.
Um,
It would have to be like 9 for me. Well, anything before noon, but preferably 9 to 10 or 9 to 11 would be my only availability.
I could do 9 to 10.
Just for my part, I will be out of the office on Friday. So that's, of course, you can proceed without me, but just letting you know.
I could take the notes.
The next question is, will we have updated slides that could be distributed? Yeah. We should have, if this is a regular meeting, we should be notifying by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's
If
right.
if it's a special meeting,
But we don't
And
have to, we just have to warn it by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
with the slides.
we don't have to
So
have the slides. Okay, true.
I would anticipate being able to send out these slides, while adding in the maps, um, certainly later today or early tomorrow. Updated slides, I believe, could be prepared by Friday. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so not the slides, but the meeting notice.
That would have to be by tomorrow.
Okay. How does it usually work with the working groups and notifying Emily, right? So typically,
Typically, I've been doing either myself or Elizabeth have been sending Emily the information and the meeting link,
yep.
and then she has been distributing it. And normally she'll do it within the hour.
Okay, so that there's no reason to change that. I mean, last week was just a
Right.
missed
Yeah,
thing
and
that Emily.
unfortunately,
Okay.
I was occupied on other things and didn't notice that she didn't send it out.
Right. Okay. So let's stick with that then. So
Okay.
going back to my little checklist that I mentioned at the beginning, we are going to schedule a meeting for Friday, the 17th
Yes.
at 9 a.m. It's going to be a regular meeting. It's going to be a 48-hour notice requirement. And Televate is going to send the information to Emily to warn the meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Rick,
And
does that work
Yep.
for you, Rick?
Yeah, it
on,
works for
on
me.
Friday?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And we will distribute the slides to the regulars when they're ready, right?
Yes.
Was that correct? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Friday at 9 it is. All right. It is time for public comment. So who do we have left on the call? So we have Kate Delorier. Do you have any comments for us today?
No comments. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for joining us. Chris Pedotti, how about you?
Thanks, Barb. I don't really have much either. I just wanted to mention that, like the 911 board, we have the similar policy with the 50 miles and the travel. So we have that within our policy as well.
Thank
Okay.
you, Chris.
Thanks.
No worries. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, I think we're good for now.
Is Dan on as well or no?
Well, I think he
was,
dropped
but
off.
I think he dropped off.
Okay.
Thanks, though. Okay, I guess if there's nothing further, we can have a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
So move.
Okay,
Second.
thank you, Paul. All in favor of adjourning for today, raise your hand or signify by saying aye. Excellent. Okay, we'll talk to you on Friday. Thanks very much for
Thank you, everyone.
plugging through all this with us. All right, talk to you
Thank
soon.
you.
Thank
you.
you. Bye now.
Bye.